What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have the Cleveland Browns season preview for y'all, so let's hop into it. And last year, they finished with a 7-10 record, which was good enough for last place in the AFC North. They obviously missed the playoffs. And last year, they had Deshaun Watson's suspension, a lot of moving parts, and just overall a lot of drama surrounding the organization, like they pretty much always do. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I know this. Worst mistake I ever made was in first grade, choosing the Cleveland Browns as my favorite team. Yeah, I really just kicked myself in the butt there. But hey, this is the year. I tell myself that every year. So let's get into some of the free agents the Cleveland Browns brought in to help improve this team. And they really looked at the defensive side of the ball because that was one of the biggest liabilities was their defensive line last year. So they went out and spent a decent amount on defensive linemen. They brought in defensive tackle Davlin Tomlinson. They brought in defensive end Obo Okunronko. I completely said that name completely wrong. I apologize, but it is nothing new on this channel. I should just change it to pronouncing names wrong sports, but hey, it is what it is. They brought in safety Juan Thornhill from the Kansas City Chiefs. They brought in wide receiver Marquise Goodwin. And they also brought in safety Rodney McLeod just as another veteran presence on that defense and hopefully take this defense to the next level and play up to what they know they can play up to. And the Browns also did a good job of re-signing some key guys. They re-signed center Ethan Posick, who had a really good year last year, stepping up for the injured Nick Harris. They brought back cornerback AJ Green, linebackers Sione Takitaki, and Anthony Walker. So nice veteran presences that they brought back to this team. And like I said, to hopefully take this team to the next level, maybe even win an AFC North. I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself, but hey, anything is possible with a new season. They also made a couple of trades to bring in key guys at key positions. They traded for wide receiver Elijah Moore from the New York Jets. They also traded for defensive end Zadarius Smith from the Minnesota Vikings. Two of their biggest needs, wide receiver and defensive line. I know Zadarius Smith can play inside and out, so just a versatile guy to have that hopefully can take pressure off of Myles Garrett and, like I said earlier in this video, help take this Browns defensive line and defense as a whole to the next level. And one of the main things that they did to help improve this defense is bring in a new defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz, who said that he wanted his defense to lead the league in swag, whatever that means. He said he wants the Browns to do it. So, hey, I'm on board with it. But even though the Browns did add a lot of big name and a decent amount of free agent acquisitions, they did lose a decent amount of players as well. They lost safety John Johnson, cornerback Greedy Williams, quarterback Jacoby Brissett, running back Kareem Hunt, outside linebacker Jadeveon Clowney, running back to Ernest Johnson, defensive tackle Perion Winfrey. They cut him because of some disciplinary actions, but they still lost a solid chunk of players. But I think they did a good job at bringing guys in to fill those roles and just keep the train moving and hopefully build towards a better season. And they kind of did the same thing with their rookie class. Like they didn't have a pick to the third round, but they drafted positions of need, positions of depth. They drafted wide receiver Cedric Tillman, defensive tackle Siaki Ika, offensive tackle DeJuan Jones, defensive end Isaiah McGuire, quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson, cornerback Cameron Mitchell, center Luke Weipler. So a lot of these guys aren't going to start right away. A few of them will be rotational players, but really their main emphasis of this draft was just depth at positions of need, which I think they did a really good job at. So now that I got all of that out of the way, let's move over to their schedule and my record prediction for the team. All right, now, so in week one, the Cleveland Browns have the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Burrow did have that calf injury in training camp, so this week one matchup will be the first time he sees the field, and I think the Browns get the dub in week one straight away. They've held I want to say it's 1-4 record against Joe Burrow, or that's Joe Burrow's record against the Browns in his career. So the Browns have had Cincinnati's number. I think this win goes to the Browns off the gate. And if Joe Burrow doesn't even play in this game, then I think that all just cements that the Browns will win in week one. In week two, they then travel to Pittsburgh. So they're starting off with two divisional matchups right out of the gate. They play all three of their division opponents in the first 4 weeks of the season. And I do think the Browns will beat the Steelers in week two, starting the season hot at 2-0. Then in week three, they have the Tennessee Titans. And this is a game that could really go either way. But I think with all the improvements the Browns made to their defense, they still have Nick Chubb on that offensive side of the ball. They can grind out the clock. I do think the Browns can very easily start this season off 3-0. So I'll give them the win right here against the Tennessee Titans. Then in week 4, they have their third divisional matchup of the season against the Baltimore Ravens. And with this game being in Cleveland, I do think the Browns will split with the Ravens this year. So I will give the Browns the win right here in week 4, but I will change this week 10 at Baltimore to a loss for the team. And that brings the Browns to their week 5 bye super early. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd prefer it to probably be around the week 8 or 9 mark, but hey, it is what it is. I don't make the schedule. Then coming out of their bye, they have the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers are a much better team than the Browns, in my opinion. The 49ers are one of the best teams in the NFC and in the league as a whole. So I feel this will be a loss for the Browns. But then they travel to Indianapolis in week 7 and go off against Anthony Richardson, a rookie quarterback. And I think the Browns pretty easily get the win here. But then they travel to Seattle. And I don't think this is a trap game, but I do think Seattle, playing in Seattle, it's a hostile environment. The Browns can slip up, and they will slip up at points this season. It's the Browns. It wouldn't surprise me if they slipped up and had like a 6-11 record. But yeah, so I think they don't get the win here against Seattle, marking their second loss of the season, but third I have right there. And then they play another bird themed team in the Arizona Cardinals, which very low expectations for the Cardinals. Go check out that video if you're a Cardinals fan or just have nothing to do. It'd be very much appreciated. But the Browns get the win right here. And then we already talked about them splitting with the Ravens, so this week 10 will be a loss. And then they have the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, and I do think the Browns sweep the Steelers. So I'll give them the win there. And then they travel to Denver, and this is a very interesting game because if this is the Denver Broncos that played last year that finished with I want to say it was like a 5-12 record, the Browns very easily win this game. But who knows? If Sean Payton gets the best out of Russell Wilson, this Denver Broncos team could be very dangerous. So for the sake of the video and for the sake of it, I'm going to give the Browns the loss here in hopes that the Broncos are a very good team this year. If not, this would also be a win for the team. Then in week 13, they have the Los Angeles Rams, and I think they rebound with a win right here before going home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I am pretty high on this year. I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback, and that team is young and they're just ready to show the world. So I do feel the Browns will probably lose this game. But they have the Bears up next at home. And Justin Fields, I'm not super high on him, and I do think the Browns get this win. The Browns harassed Fields the last time they played. I want to say Myles Garrett had like 4.5 sacks. He just went off. And with a much better defensive line this year, I feel this game could get dangerous quickly for the Bears. So I'm going to give the Browns the win. Then in week 16, they travel to Houston. And last year they played Houston. They scored a defensive touchdown. They had a punt return for a touchdown. It was Deshaun Watson's return game. I want to say it was the game he came back on too. And the Texans just look super dysfunctional to me. I don't know how much that's going to change. I'm not super high on quarterback CJ Stroud. I will get into that a lot in my Houston Texans video, which will come out later this month. But the Browns, I feel, win this game very easily. So I'll put a W there. Then they have the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football in week 17. And I'm not super high on Aaron Rodgers. I think the Jets have the potential to be this year's Denver Broncos. Like how the Broncos massively disappointed last year. I feel like this Jets team can definitely replicate that. So I'm not high on the Jets. The Browns had an embarrassing loss to the Jets last year, blowing that lead, letting the Jets score like 2 touchdowns in under a minute to win that game. So I think the Browns, that's still fresh on their mind from last year. I think they come out with a vengeance and win this game just because of what happened in last year's game. So I'll give them the win right there. And they finish out the year at Cincinnati. And hopefully Joe Burrow is fully healthy at this point. I wish injury upon nobody. I wish everybody was just healthy because then you get the best matchups possible. It's not a fun league when everybody's injured. So hopefully he is fully healthy at this point. If not, the Browns easily win this game, in my opinion. But so for the sake of the video, I'm pretending Joe Burrow is fully healthy at this point, and they redeem themselves by their week 1 loss to the Browns by beating the Browns here in week 18. So that brings the Browns' 2023 record to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 wins and 6 losses. I think this is pretty accurate. I probably think they had their ceilings probably 12, maybe 13 wins if they all play really well. If Nick Chubb goes off, if Myles Garrett has a defensive player of the year caliber type year like he always seems to have, if Deshaun Watson returns to form, I definitely think this record is in the realm of possibilities. If not, the Browns are the Browns. Their floor is probably around that 7 win mark once again. But let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts down below. Like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and hey, I'll catch you with another season preview. God bless.